Welcome back. A scuffle between a dissatisfied customer of the IKEDC electricity area on 5th Avenue, Gowon Estate, Egbeda, Lagos, and staff of the organization has earned an entire community total blackout. The affected residents want to know why they are being treated in such a manner when it was a customer that had a clash with them. Our correspondent Chris Helms reports.
These are some residents of 5th Avenue, Gowon Estate, in the Egbeda area of Lagos.
We want light, please, I beg, we beg.
They are protesting a blanket blackout placed on them by IKEDC after a fight between a dissatisfied customer and the staff of the distribution company about a month ago.
They said they fought with NEPA. I said, which community? They say our community.
7 streets are currently disconnected as a result of the incident. The people find this quite unbelievable.
It is bad enough that 7 of us were on one transformer. Those transformers, the highest time we will enjoy light is 2 weeks. They'll keep on repairing, we keep on giving them money.
They claim several efforts to reach out to the management of IKEDC have yielded no results.
This is going to be months. We don't see light, then there are speculations and rumors that this same light will be shut down for 6 months because of the have issue with 1 or 2 persons.
Confirming the incident, the General Manager of Corporate Communications of IKEDC, Felix Ofolu, says the measure was taken to checkmate incessant assaults on their staff.
But the truth is, it is not meant to be a punitive measure. It is actually meant to be a deterrent. You see, we have a lot of cases like this on a very frequent basis, and then we think that we need to take some very drastic actions to reduce them. And I can tell you that gradually they are reducing.
While it's bad enough to connect 7 streets to 1 transformer, putting an entire area in darkness as a result of one person's fault seems like an infringement, according to Ayodele Oni, a legal practitioner.
With respect to what that consumer had done, there's a criminal aspect to it and there's a civil aspect to it. You could have criminal assault and all of those, and they could have pursued that rather than disconnect everybody else, because the disco disconnecting everybody else is then self-help on their own part, because they have an obligation to provide safe and reliable electricity supply to everyone.
At the moment, the 7 streets are still not connected, and they would have probably opted for a different service provider if they could. That's not an option with the current power distribution arrangement on the ground. Hopefully, the relevant authorities would intervene. Chris Helms, Channels Television News.
The Ogun State Governor, Mr. Dapo Abiodun, says that comprehensive approaches are being worked out to tackle the menace of perennial flooding, gully erosion, and deplorable state of township roads in the Ijebu-Ode local government area, Ogun East Senatorial District of the state. Governor Abiodun was speaking while on an assessment tour of ongoing road projects in some parts of Ijebu-Ode. He, however, asked for attitudinal change among residents regarding indiscriminate dumping of refuse, while also reassuring them of better days ahead.
What I'm doing is going around the Ijebu-Ode metropolis to look at the state of the the township road in Ijebu-Ode. Ijebu-Ode is one of the biggest towns in this state. And in the course of our campaign, we appreciated the fact that the biggest problem they had with government was the state of their township roads. So my trip today is to come and formally inspect for myself the current state, as the previous government awarded some contracts to rehabilitate some of those roads. So I want to see the level of completion of those contracts. I also, at the same time, now that we have started experiencing rains, I want to see how the rains and the drains are affecting the flooding, because one of the biggest complaints we've had is that most of the homes are being flooded once it rains. At times, people can't even get in their home till past midnight. So I decided to come myself to inspect the roads, the estate, the drains, and find out why are we having these perpetual flooding situations.
More stories now. The Edo State government is intensifying efforts to ensure the ease of doing business in the state with the setting up of the Edo Production Center, which is equipped with 24-hour electricity supply. The center is expected to serve welders, fabricators, shoemakers, and other small-scale businesses. According to the Senior Special Advisor to Governor Godwin Obaseki on Skills Development, Ukinebo Dari, besides the power benefits from the Edo Production Center located along Sapele Road in Benin City, the state government will also help operators within the facility access to loans from financial institutions.
It's production time for Ernest Ihato, a welder specialized in steel fabrication along Sapele Road in Benin City, the Edo State capital. Mr. Ihato says that he could use some help to grow his business after spending 18 years in the trade. The major challenge remains the huge cost of providing power.
It's just lights. We don't really have lights. The only light we have sometimes just 1 hour, 3 hours, sometimes a day, or 3 days we didn't even see the light.
Less than 500 meters away lies the Edo Production Center, from where that assistance could possibly come for this welder and many others in the local manufacturing business. The Edo Production Center is an initiative of the Edo State government designed to house over 200 business centers in manufacturing, providing a conducive atmosphere for production with 24 hours power supply at a small cost. The ongoing construction work at the workplace, particularly the power station, is no deterrent. The artisans can't wait to get going. Finance is one area that gives SMEs sleepless nights. But at the recent visit to the center, the governor of the central bank dismissed this fear. The state government also has its assurances.
Once you have your BVN, you are properly registered, and you go to a microfinance institution in the state, they will contact the Central Bank of Nigeria on your behalf. You will apply. The important thing is that you take a loan and be ready to pay. But I can assure you that if you are given a loan at 9%, you have electricity, constant electricity, your cost of production certainly will be low, and so you can compete effectively and then grow the economy, employ yourself, and also employ other people. And through that means, I think we are helping to grow the Nigerian economy.
The idea is that these small businesses can access friendly loans from the Bank of Industry through a special fund that is being created in partnership with the state government. So they are very much a part of this project. They have been from the beginning. They've also had a lot of sessions with the artisans to know what equipment they need and what kind of support they need from the bank.
The wait for the Edo Production Center to commence operations is over. Everything is now in place for full operations with power connected. For the Edo State government, the Edo Production Center represents the drive to promote the industrial sector, to generate employment and wealth creation, in line with the pledge of providing 200,000 jobs within the first 4 years.
Let's head over to Kwara State, where the people of our community have resolved to make use of the town's comparative advantage, collaborate with the private sector and promote its cultural heritage to boost the community's economy. These, of course, are some of the resolutions from the first of our economic summit held for 2 days in the ancient town. The focus is on development.
Ofa is not just one of the largest communities in Kwara State. It is also home to a people known for their entrepreneurial skills. So it is no surprise that the town is hosting an economic summit, the first of its kind. It's a convergence of intellectuals and professionals, most of whom are indigents of the state. For them, this is the big picture.
The whole idea of holding an economic summit of this nature was born out of a desire to rejuvenate the economy of Ofa and by implication its environs.
The two-day event gives participants and speakers an extensive avenue to proffer solutions to the economic challenges of the town.
In the short run, we can create industrial parks or incubation centers. These are facilities where you provide electricity, you provide road access, you provide water, you provide many services that can be shared by the entrepreneurs, such that each entrepreneur will not be its own local government when he's starting his project.
The town's comparative advantage also forms a major talking point.
Ofa is well located between the north and the south and has a vibrant market that attracts traders from neighboring cities. Offa is the second largest city in Kwara State and is seen as the meeting point of all the towns and villages around.
Entrepreneurship is not the only focus of the summit.
In most cases, you have left politics to charlatans. I'm sorry to say that most people who are participating in active politics today, most people who are doing it today, they have a lot of hindrance.
Recognition and awards are also presented to those who have contributed to the overall development of Offa. The first Offa Economic Summit may be over, but the ideas generated from this convergence are expected to propel the community to a better economic reality.
You're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, reaching you live from Lagos. Let's move on now to business news with Kayode Okekeolu.
Thank you, Gimba, and you're welcome to Business News. Now, following the endorsement of the African Continental Free Area by 24 African countries earlier this year, about 2,000 delegates converged on Equatorial Guinea this week for the 54th annual meetings of the African Development Bank in a bid to dialogue on regional integration. At the week-long meeting, participants resolved to cut down trade barriers as shareholders give go-ahead for general capital increase in order to speed up regional integration for a new phase of African prosperity. Channels Television's business correspondent Temple Ashaju covered the meetings.
The annual meetings were attended by ministers, government officials, African Union representatives, development partners, and civil society leaders to discuss the continent's economic agenda. Top on the agenda was the bank's performance, outlook, and the proposed general capital increase, one that the president, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, says has been welcomed by shareholders to address issues such as insecurity.
When you have electricity, it's easier to track people. It's easier to do drones and all of that. But when you don't have it, the terrorists just enjoy that. And so we must link Light Up and Power Africa to security of Africa. That's why the African Development Bank is within the phase of its new general capital increase period. We are going to invest massively all across the Sahel in what is called Desert to Power. Desert to Power will be the largest solar zone in the world.
And as part of a successful hosting of the meeting, Equatorial Guinea now stands a chance to enjoy some $433 million financing for the next 4 years.
Now we have to work very, very, very fast on visa processes, things like that, to make sure that people can come easily, because now we have the road, the bridges, the ports, everything. But we have to, the administrative side, we have to make it very fast. The visa openness index that President Adesina mentioned in his speech, we are looking at that carefully, because we believe that as this country it is today, we have to open up.
In spite of its significance to the bank, Nigeria was without a ministerial representation at the meeting and is yet to sign the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement.
So there has been a change in administration, so there is no formal ministerial delegation, but there is a delegation here from Nigeria, and my understanding on the ACFTA is that the Nigerian government is consulting with key stakeholders, which is really very important. You cannot get into this as a country without really talking to all your stakeholders and so on.
We're just putting about over $230 million in the north of Nigeria with the Northeast reconstruction effort, so as you can build more hospitals, construct more roads, and support a lot of displaced people that are in that particular area as part of what they call the Buhari plan. And the other thing that we're also doing is we provided $200 million to help to deal with the liquidity constraint problem that the Nigerian bulk electricity trader, a company, has, so that the electricity system in Nigeria can work. Nigeria has always been a leader, and I hope and I'm sure it will continue to do so.
The 45th annual meetings of the AFDB have now come to a close, with updates on ongoing projects across regions and more future plans. It is also clear that the bank is dogged about the regional integration plan that it has for Africa, one that it looks to consolidate with the launch of the AFCFTA in July next month. From Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, Temple Ashaju, Channels Television News.
Well, our next stop is at the NSE, and after 4 trading sessions, the stock market ends the second week of June still in the red, down by 1.27%, but managed to record its first rebound in 6 sessions within the month on Friday. At the same time, approximately 170 billion naira is lost after intense profit-taking activities in mostly blue-chip equities, and this put much pressure mostly on industrial goods and the consumer goods sector components of the NSE. Forte Oil is top gainers for the week, up by 14.17% ahead of 18 other advances. Nigerian Aviation Handling Company tops 31 laggards, down by 11.80%, while 118 equities were unchanged. However, overall volume of equities traded for the week was higher by nearly 100 million units compared to last week's turnover at 868.73 million shares worth 15.79 billion naira in more than 12,201 transactions, led by the shares of GT Bank, Zenith Bank, and Wapik Insurance. And that's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I am Kayode Okikelu. The news at 10 continues with Kimba.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Ukraine emerges FIFA Under-20 World Cup champions for the first time after coming from behind to defeat South Korea 3-1 in the finals. That's on Sports News. Stay with us.